So I named I'm in my bra. Pardon me. I'm really tired. I made the last video that I'm very sick and I'm tired. I don't have energy right now. But I want to make this video. So freaking I named this Radical Acceptance of a Christian because I read this book when I was at Gateway when I was going through my NGRI process called Radical. It's like accepting life with the heart of a Buddha, or radical acceptance of the heart of a Buddha, or something like that. And it was very enlightening as far as it was a very technical book talking about like how, and I talked about it on the old channel, talking about basically how to accept yourself for reality's sake of who and how you are, with the most utmost compassion you could possibly muster for yourself. And it had a lot of other teaching points, but I didn't get very far in the book. But it was a very compassionate, self-loving, meditative type of explorative book. And it was a white lady who had a lot of experience with the Buddhist monks. I don't know if with the Tao monks or the Buddhist monks, but she was writing a book based off of her experience with the monks. So I just wanted to do a little wordplay on that and talk about radical acceptance of a Christian, because I have decided I want to be a Jehovah's Witness again. And the reasoning behind that is I don't think it's possible for them to be a cult. I think they are cult-like in appearance because they don't associate with anybody, but neither do the Buddhist monks, and nobody's calling them a cult. And I'm like, they get a lot of hate, they get a lot of this, they get a lot of that, and I've had a lot of time to sit and think on it since the last video I made. And the more accepting, and that's why I'm making this video, the more accepting I become of, let me put it this way, I'm just going to go straight into the video. Like, the perspective that I've gained from the American government being like 93% pedophilic at this point, like the presidency, the Oval Office, not the Oval Office, the presidency, the fucking Pentagon, or whatever the other building is, the other second most important building, like they found so much child porn on those computers in that place, and the presidency, and Elon Musk, and all these super powerful, largely white older men. And it got me to thinking, like, there are a lot of things in this life that are like hard to accept. So, and when I was thinking of reading this book about accepting a life with the heart of a Buddha or something, whatever it was, radical acceptance is really the biggest takeaway I want you to take from this book. Radical acceptance is like, it's a concept that means, it's the same thing as a Christian concept of a reality check of a sort, where you're essentially unable to judge anyone as being less than anybody else, but you're also able to acknowledge them for what they are with peace and forgiveness in your heart. It's a fundamental Christian teaching. So with my childhood rape and all these things, I've been finding here lately that when I'm in the neighborhood, when I used to, before summer got really hot and I was walking around the neighborhood every day, and I would see the young kids and the preteens playing around the neighborhood, I would get so physically uncomfortable and stressed out. Now, we having PTSD over my childhood sexual assault and my rapes and all these things. And so being around kids was making me physically uncomfortable. And it was triggering a lot of stress in me. And it's strictly because there's all this news of pedophilia, the Epstein files, all these things that can't really be fixed. It's like the government is trying to find a way. FBI does what they do. They're like a separate entity from the presidency. Their main job is to keep everything fair play in the government. But they can't overstep the boundaries of the president, because he literally is like essentially a king in the government. So they can only, like, their central role, if you think of it as being like a kingdom, is to be like the news runner, the errand boy, or the guy who runs the news from one kingdom to the next, and the champion in the Greek Roman Empire. So that's like what the FBI's role is. So they're spreading the news of what the presidency's done, what the government's done, and at this point is strictly pedophilia. So it has me mentally, I've been very stressed out about it. It triggered me to cut off my mom. Essentially, it's the reason why me and my mom broke up a year ago, and I just called her a narcissist and was over with it. Like the pedophilia, I had pretty much outed my uncle. It went in the order of when COVID broke out and cuties hit America, and it was one other country, and it was Haiti. Because the dance show Cuties came from a pervert in Haiti who had a bunch of little brown girls twerking, and then he put the show out there talking about this is to represent the dangers of social media. And while he has a valid point, it's pedophilic. So he shares his pedophilic dance show with two other countries who are like, we're willing to indulge in this pedophilic shit. We want it. So slavery and sexual misuse of little brown girls, which has been done to the Native Americans across America for centuries and centuries and centuries. That's what the red blood handprint on their faces represents, is the rape and ostracism and murder of Native American women and all those things we know. So basically, it's just more of the same. So Cuties came out. I became very, very mentally distressed thinking about my own thing. I became homeless from the crazy apartment complex situation that I had going on. And then my mother, I confessed that I thought my uncle was a pedophile because I found these naked pictures that I didn't really find them. It occurred to me what I was really experiencing. This is going to be a very long video, so if you don't want to watch all of it, I get it, but like I'm really pouring my heart out into this one, and I really need to get it off my chest. I've been thinking for 4 days straight, and I have a lot of clarity at this moment, and it's a very interesting topic that I just want to put out there. In this video is about my friendships. I have a friend who's a neo-Nazi. I have a close friend who dated my twin sister. I have a friend who's a terrorist, who's Muslim, very close friend. We almost dated. Like, I have friends, and I'm trying to become a Jehovah's Witness again. And all these people knew me back in high school when I was a Jehovah's Witness. So what I mean about radical acceptance and the idea of forgiveness to the point where you're no longer angry about the things that people do is what this video is about. But my mother was like, didn't care about the pedophilia, didn't care. My uncle literally was so nonchalant about it, probably trying to cover up the obvious. Because I found these, I grew up watching this, particularly this one picture. And you have to pardon me for being graphic here, but I used to not wear clothes when I was a little girl. And so the part about this that I find most heartbreaking is the fact that my mother let me run around naked in front of men that were not part of the family. And she found it fine and funny and vicariously a reenactment of how she was raped when she was a little girl, because she's a narcissist and that's what they do. So she's like, so I have this strange stepdad from Haiti, the same Haiti that just made this pedophilic dance show Cuties, because the Haitian men are known as a tribe for sexually and emotionally being very dominant over their women. They treat them like absolute sex slaves and trash. And that's what they did to their little girls. So we had a stepdad from Haiti. And so I'm running around butt naked. He's very highly aggressive, psychopathic, pedophilic, perverted, and very scary. Like, I'm absolutely terrified of this man. And, he's in the house. He comes to the house and she's like, oh, I don't care that she's naked. This is a perfect situation for me. I know he's creepy. I don't even like him. But I'm going to let her run around naked in front of this strange man that just moved into the house. And what it bothers me more about the fact that she had just met this man at the Kingdom Hall, knew nothing about him, had him in the house like as a fixture within like 6 months, like 3 months, and then married him within the span of like 8 months. And I'm just naked child, is how stupid she can be when it serves her own really dark desires. So vicarious means to live through somebody else's lived experience. Essentially trying to live someone else's life for them, which is what helicopter parenting is. You're trying to vicariously force your kids to be you and do exactly what you want them to do, exactly what you would do if you were them. And that's why it's so stifling, because it's vicariosity. And that's what my mom put me through. She's like, I'd rather see my daughter experience child rape and be put in the spotlight, be assumed to be a rape victim than I would ever protect her from it. So I ran around butt naked in front of this very terrifying Haitian black French terrifying man, just totally perverted. And my uncle in law, the one that came after me sexually as an adult, is in here. He probably has so much child porn of me, but like there's this one photo of me where I'm totally naked. I'm in my mom's really oversized high heels and her really big gold hoop earrings, and I'm posed up and I'm just totally naked. And I grew up seeing this picture, and I'm like, I look so cute in this picture, but the part that disturbed me the most was always just this little, because I thought for the longest time that my mom had taken the photo as like a keepsake of my daughter that runs around naked. It's so cute. She's so innocent. I just want to take this photo. But what I couldn't wrap my mind around was if my mom had taken the photo, it would be just a random photo, even if I had posed for it. But why am I dressed up like a grown woman posing butt naked? So it slowly occurred to me that it was a child pornography picture that my uncle had taken that my mom saved because she liked the idea of me being a rape victim like she was, because that's how she operates. So when I acknowledged pedophilia in front of her and my uncle was like, "Is there anything else you want to say?" He just was like, "Is there anything else?" and was wringing his hands together. And my mom was opening up an envelope of mail, and she never stopped opening her mail at the dresser, like she didn't even hear what I said. And I said it loudly and angrily, so I know she heard me. And I was like, I didn't say anything else. I was like, no, or whatever I said. I was just kind of stunned by how they didn't react. So they didn't care. And then I tried to set the house on fire. Their house with them in it at like 9 o'clock at night, and it didn't burn. So that happened. But when I got to this apartment and all of the cylinders are firing, the government's coming on with these Epstein files. I'm so uncomfortable around kids, and I'm hyper vigilant. And as soon as I see a kid around the neighborhood when I'm walking, I'm literally physically straining. Like I feel like I'm being groped and molested and raped, and I'm not. And I can't help but see them being attacked because I have schizophrenia and my brain has just learned how to think in images. And so it's very pornographic when I'm around kids these days. And it's straight slaying and raping of kids. And it's not me doing it to the kids. It's like this dominant white pedophile is just raping these kids. And so I can't be around kids without being terribly miserable these days. Because I was raped as a little girl. And I know how these victims of the Epstein files must terribly be feeling, and so suicidal, being murdered and plucked off, and all the shit's going on. So I, in the last 4 days, have been having a terrible reaction to something. I don't know. I think it's from the Lyrica exiting my system and the shelf light exiting, and my brain is almost seizure-like. But I have come to the understanding via Jehovah's Witnesses throughout all of this that the biggest lesson I can take away in my life, whether they're cults, whether people hate us, whether people will give us the time of the day, whether I'm wrong about them being a cult, whether I would be willing to be in a cult even if people thought it was weird. I mean, Elon Musk grows Grimes as a high priestess in her cult, and I'm like, I don't have a problem with cults. That's my personal feeling on it. But I came up with this concept of radical acceptance and what it means to truly be forgiving, but to move on with your life and acknowledge that the person has caused a sin or has been problematic in some terrifyingly bad way that you can no longer accept as appropriate in your life. Leave them behind, forgive them, but not acknowledge them as living to you anymore. And how spiritual of a thought process it is, because like biblically it's talking about how the last days, how exactly what's happening to me, the uncles would be trying to have sex with their nieces and nephews, people will be more lovers of twerking their ass, in love with their ass more than they're in love with the Jesus they keep talking about, like worshiping dicks. Was talking about Bible, in the Bible a whole society had statues of nothing but penises, and now it's pedophilia. And I'm like, it's stunning to me. And so after so much anger in my spirit and disgust and discomfort, it got to the level where my brain couldn't handle it anymore. It was like, you're so stressed out about the state of America and the children and the pedophiles and the government and the fact that it's not being addressed fast enough for your anxiety level, that you're unhappy, you're miserable, you're sick, and your peace is totally wrecked. So I'm like, so here's the situation. I've cut off all of my family that disregarded me over pedophilia, has habitually and terribly ostracized me. I'm like, the Bible talks about how, just like the Jehovah's Witnesses, which is why it made me rethink them being a cult as much as them just being a Christian organization that's really heavily ostracized and judged. Because I'm like, the Bible's, any Christian Bible specifically says that any true Christian would face severe ostracism, mockery. It would be a very narrow path, and not a lot of people would do it, but it would be well known, and they would shine as illuminators of the truth. So I'm like, so Jehovah's Witnesses are only 8 million. Catholic Church is the biggest Christian organization that there is, and then the Mormons are the third biggest. But Jehovah's Witnesses are the most well known, the most well hated, the most widely populated. We're in almost every country on the earth. There's very few tribes that we haven't actually come into contact with. And we're literally the world's smartest Bible scholars that there are. Our shit is like, if you had to say it's university level, you could say it's university level because it's not a church, it's a school. But all we do is study the Bible and prophecies and all these things. And for my whole life, I've been missing the point of Christianity. And so I've been staring at Buddhism, and I've been like, they're so peaceful. And we had this peace walk here in America several months ago, and they're still on it. But these monks went from Texas, like Austin, Texas, or Houston, Texas, all the way to Washington, D.C. on foot. And they just walked through the seasons, through the rain, through the snow, through everything, until they got to Washington, D.C. And they said this is a peace walk for America because the state of America was so bad. They just wanted to show us love. And it's been scientifically proven that if a group of people meditate on peace, love, and harmony, it lowers the crime rates of the cities around it measurably for like 12 weeks or some shit. So they're like, we're going to bring love and peace to America specifically and bring a little harmony and calm to America because it's very distressed right now. And that's just what the Buddhists noticed and wanted to do. So peace is transferable, it's measurable, and it's real. So the Buddhist walk got me thinking about this one situation where this Christian guy, very conflated, confused, passionate, but with the wrong intention, missing the point entirely, is yelling at this Buddhist about how he's going to hell because their morning prayer is praying to a God that's not Christian. And so his intent is, I'm trying to save your soul, but the way he comes across is missing the point entirely. I'm like, not everybody's going to worship your God. And that's something your own Christian God has told you. So instead of being hostile and hateful, show love and appreciation for the fact that they're spiritual at all. I mean, that's better than nothing. And be peaceable with all people. If you want to preach and expose or offer your God to someone who has their own God, do that. But don't damn them for not doing what you want them to do. That's not the path to enlightenment. So, very agitating moment for me. I'm like, they're literally in the middle of a spiritual peace walk that might as well be a Christian peace walk. It's for peace. That's as peaceful as it can get, as Christian as it can get, even though they're Buddhists, and you're telling them they're going to hell because they're praying to a foreign god in their morning mantras. And it just was so disturbing. So it got me thinking about the concept of forgiveness and true peace. And so I said, so what's the lesson I can take from, and I really had to force myself. I had to forgive my mom for pedophilia, had to forgive my uncle, my aunt, my sister for trying to fuck me. I had to forgive the stepdad. I had to forgive my husband for abusing me, my sister for abusing me, Chad for ignoring me for 3 years for his own ego and self-serving pleasures. All the girls who've been harassing me over the last 12 months and refusing to be my friend but wanting all the benefits of my presence. You know, all the people attacking me because I'm prettier than them, or I try harder than them, or I'm more intelligent, or I'm richer, or more ambitious, or more successful, or whatever the word is you want to add to me, under duress this past year. And I couldn't help but wonder, what can I do? So I slowly, one by one, went through this process of radical acceptance. And I was like, the process of forgiveness was something I used to not comprehend. I said, how can you forgive? And it's tricky too, because I'm like, you don't have to forgive someone who's not sorry, is what the Christian Bible says. Because sorrow comes with change, apology, acknowledgement, and true repentance, which is why the Bible says people who in the last days don't and absolutely refuse to change, people who would rather twerk their ass and be in love with their own booty cheek than worship God, shit like that, or try to do both at the same time and refuse to stop, and they just do that till they're dead. Like, they don't come back according to the Bible. So it's kind of like, so forgiveness is one of those things that is this way and that way, which is why I talk about stuff that's controversial, because I'm all about saving a life, educating people, giving you a chance, and opening the door to a reality check. Because I'm a realist. I'm not an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm not jaded. I'm just a realist. I keep it true. I stick to what's honest, and I don't care if it hurts your feeling. I would rather hurt your feeling and tell you the truth than let you die. So, like, that's how I think of it. And I mean that in a very literal sense. Because it's not all about doom and gloom and Armageddon and religion and judgment. It's not what it's about. It's not about judgment, because I can't judge who's going to die and who's not. It's one of those Christian concepts where only Jehovah or God, whatever you want to call him, can forgive you, Yahweh, whatever, can forgive you if you have a relationship with him. But as Jesus said, if you've done it to one of my sheep, you've done it to me. So you can't just blatantly do shit to people and pretend to be a Christian and think you're good with God because God forgives everything you do as long as you serve him if you're treating his people bad. That is stumbling people, and it can get you killed. So I was like, so how do I forgive my family if they're not sorry? And I don't have to forgive them, but I've been taught to forgive them as many times as I possibly can, which is endlessly, for my own peace of mind, for my own life to be saved, because I can't judge them as unforgivable. So I went through this whole long, excruciating process of reckoning. And then it got me thinking about Elon Musk. And this is my radical acceptance moment. I'm going to put this out there. This is very controversial, so it may get taken down, but I'm going to say it anyway. I said, would I give the pictures that were taken of me to a pedophilic husband if I thought it would keep him from getting sick? And I questioned myself about that. And it's one of those things where it's very honest of me, let me turn it off. Very honest of me, very loving, very sickening, very brutally transparent, but open-minded, like hopeful. And so it was just a thought that went through my mind. I was like, just this radical acceptance moment. I'm like, would you do anything for anybody if you thought it would help them, no matter what it was? And so it was like, so I have this friend from high school who's a neo-Nazi, and I mean German salute, Nazi suit, blonde hair, blue eyes. And we were friends with him in high school, and he dated my sister, and they got on like fire. And he's like, I don't care that she's black, I don't care that she's not Aryan, I don't care if she really likes me, she's adorable, I love her, we're super cute together, like she's so good. And I was just always impressed by his pride in his own tribe, which is Germany. And so this is what people don't like about Jordan Peterson, and he's constantly been accused of being a Nazi, because his point was, the point that I gathered from the little bit that I listened to, and I don't know if it was a confession of some sort or if it was just him being a realist, because he's very level-headed, but it was kind of like the question that was posed, which is why I don't do hypothetical situations, because I'm not all about ego and fake honor. I don't know what I would do in a situation, and that was the point he made. He said most of those Nazis are like the soldiers here in America that are bombing these schools over in the Middle East. They're like, we don't have a choice. We're already soldiers in this military. Someone crazy comes along and tells us we're under order to do this. What would you do? So like, I look at this neo-Nazi friend and I'm like, half of these, just like half of the people in America are not racist, half of them were not slave owners, half of them were just trying to exist in a society that was built on slavery and harm and hate and taking over other tribal land. So it comes down to this fundamental idea of what is acceptable, what can you forgive, what can you overlook, and what can you achieve in the name of true peace and harmony as a Christian. Specifically for me, what I want to do as a Jehovah's Witness, because I admire them more than any other Christian. that I've ever seen has the most ability to be present and obvious to everybody on the earth, whether you find them annoying, whether you find them a curiosity, whether you think they're cloying, whether you want them to shut up, whether you want to know what they know, whether you would never listen to them, whether you're an atheist, whether you are just tired of them, or whether you think they're just loud, proud Christians that you know nothing about, or you think they're a cult that just needs to disappear, they still are the brightest Christians I have ever met on the planet. And I admire that relationship because it's stronger to me than even Buddhism. And Buddhism is literally like what my husband said he wanted to be. So I took a lot of pride and effort in trying to learn about it because he didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness, and I have to follow my husband. But, you know, it was one of those situations where I was like, I couldn't get on board with it because in my heart of hearts, I just believe in Jehovah. And I couldn't reckon, how am I going to be a Jehovah's Witness if it's a cult? How am I going to be a Jehovah's Witness if they don't believe gay people can be married? How am I going to be a Jehovah's Witness if I do this? It has so much anxiety and worry. And then little things, little obvious, sweet, very obvious God-like experiences kept happening to me that just slowly made up for a very large picture that made me eventually, like 2 days ago, realize that I really wanted to go back to being a Jehovah's Witness again, cult or not. Like, it was like, one, I met this gay Christian, and I don't think I've ever, it was a girl, I don't think I've ever squirmed in front of someone so calm and happy and confident in God before that was polar opposite everything I had ever been taught. And I was so happy to have met her. I was so comfortable with her. And I was so blind because I was like, blank, not blind, blank. I was like, here's a Christian that is gay as hell, and she is just as sure as shit that she's not going to die for being gay. And I was so glad that she told me she was a gay Christian. And I was like, so if Jehovah's Witnesses, they feel like you can be gay, but you can't practice it and be a Jehovah's Witness because we have a reputation to uphold. So there's a lot of things, just like the Buddhist monks don't have sex. No one in the Kingdom Hall has sex if they're not married. Almost nobody in there masturbates. Everybody is almost a monk. And there are plenty of gay people that have become Jehovah's Witnesses that gave up being gay, either took a straight partner or stayed single for life. And that was their sacrifice. Because they said, I would rather be obedient than be more in love with twerking my own ass than being obedient to God. Because sacrifices come at a price of saving your own life. And as soon as I made peace with that reckoning, I was able to say I could be a Jehovah's Witness again. Because when the Bible was like, sacrifice yourself in the name of others, I really was like, I would rather Jehovah kill me than be a Jehovah's Witness and not be able to support gay people. It's that I can't reckon. There was so many things about the Bible that was distressing me, which is why I made the video I made. But I've gotten so many answers, I feel, straight from God over these last however many months it's been since I made that video. Like, gay people can be Christians and they can be happy doing it. And I said, so you can be a Christian right with them and not be so anxious about how happy or unhappy they're going to be doing that. I said, you can't worry about everyone and everything. If they don't like God because he made us man and woman and they don't want to reproduce the way he made us and they don't want to do it his way and they're born in such a way biologically that they're just not attracted to it, then they can be a Christian and just not have sex. The Buddhist monks do it all the time. And I said, so it has to be serious enough to you. You have to be spiritual enough, holy enough, disciplined enough, appreciative enough to not put sex before your duty to God. And if you're really religious and you're really grateful for everything that God has given you and you really come to know God scripturally and you learn him, which is all I've ever done as a Jehovah's Witness, is learn about God's attributes, not so much his judgment calls and his anger and his moods and his explanations. Just his personality is what we study more than anything. It's God's personality as Jehovah's Witnesses. And I say he is the most loving but strict personage, God, father, husband, as he has a heavenly wife, all of these things. He is so holy. It is like almost impossible to not want to do exactly what he said because it's for your own benefit. And the more you listen to it, the more peaceful and perfect your life is going to actually be. So I made peace with that fact. And I said, I would rather be thought of as being in a very annoying cult that never shuts up about God, that knocks on your door at 9 o'clock in the morning, that's liable to get shot in the head, and sacrifice myself for my own honor of praising someone who gave me everything I had, another chance, his own dead son, everything I know about Christianity that I've ever learned. I just love it so much. I would rather be thought of as being in a cult. And it took a long time to come up to that understanding because I had too many questions to just blindly disrespect the people around me by being a Jehovah's Witness, because Jehovah's Witnesses seem highly disrespectful because they mean what they say and they do exactly what the Bible tells them to do, and they do not dissent from it. So they are even more strict than Buddhists, and they are the most serious Christians I've ever met in my life. Totally. They do not mix with the world. They're not scared to call you the world. They're not calling you bad, sinful people. They're just saying you're not Jehovah's Witnesses. You're not of us. You're not going where we're going. The same way the Buddhists shut themselves off from the world, the Jehovah's Witnesses do it too. And ain't nobody calling them a cult. So I think I was mistaken by calling them a cult. It's easy to be influenced by other people when you're trying to satisfy people instead of God. So I made a mistake. And I don't want to miss out on it any further. So radical acceptance. I'm like, I've seen people change the mind of KKK members, and I'm like, how the hell did you do that? Like, how calm and passionate could you must have been? But I'm like, when you realize that it's all about harmony and really thinking it through. Like me giving my naked child pictures, if I ever could marry Elon Musk, because that's my dream man. Even with him being a pedophile, it's still my dream man. I'm like, I would rather, even as a child rape victim, like, how could a child rape victim marry a man that's a pedophile? Like, that's radical acceptance. And I'm like, so it's one of those situations where the more you empathize with people, the more you question people, the more patience and honor you give to people, and openness to the idea that sickness and sin and imperfection is something everybody struggles with. And all we need is a little patience and understanding, love and grace and prayer with each other. Like, the more holy and happy and at peace you'll be with all the bad things going on around you. Just like a Buddhist monk, you will be so at ease, so loving towards other people that nothing will distress you. And that is what I learned from being a Jehovah's Witness. I was never distressed by any of the abuse I had because I had Jehovah in my house. Like, I didn't have any worry about anything in my life. I was never unhappy. And while I did get angry, I mean, Jesus flipped the table. I'm like, sometimes you get mad. And it's proper. God gets mad. I'm like, he probably doesn't want to have to kill someone that's insignificant and super holy to him as a human. He's like, you're almost as small as a kitten. And you're so pure, so important. So I made you to be my children. You're godlike. You're demigods. You're almost angels. You're literally like me in the flesh, and I did that for a reason. I don't want to have to kill you. I don't want to have to kill Satan. I'm giving you as much time to get this understood, known, spread, figured out, either accepted or denied. And that's all I want for you, is to make a decision between whether you want to twerk your ass or you want to come be with me. And I use that as a point of reference because that's my culture, and what they're obsessed with is themselves. Like anyone else in America is themselves. So it's kind of like I just hit a final point where I was like, I'm tired of trying to please humans more than I'm trying to please God. If I'm worried about how gay people can be Christians and be happy doing it, that's not my worry to take on. All I can do is be a Christian and be hated for the fact that people think we hate gay people, because we never said that. We just said they probably wouldn't be in God's kingdom. And I'm like, how? Why not? I'm like, because that's what God said. And so if he wants you to not be gay, even if you're born gay, it makes you uncomfortable, don't be a Christian. It's just that easy. But if you want to be, maybe ask him what's wrong with it. Ask him how to change. Ask him to help you. Ask him to give you no sex drive or an attraction to the same sex. You can ask God for anything and get exactly what you want a billion times over. And I realized this like 2 days ago when I started praying for stuff and I was getting it immediately. And I was like, okay, so it's as simple as believing, testing it, and waiting for an answer. And I've never seen so clear of obvious evidence of God as I have in the last 4 days. And so it really was enlightening. So I just want to let you guys know, I want to be a Jehovah's Witness again. I realize I have all the grace in the world for the sin that people do. I think I have Asperger's, bro. But like, I have a very interesting way of thinking that is deeper than the average person will ever admit, a little scarier than the average person is willing to dig into. I'm brutally honest. I'm very self-sacrificial. I'm never embarrassed to love someone to the point that it hurts me. And I'm very respectful of my own boundaries. I never had that before. So once I started cutting people off, I viewed them as dead. They're forgiven, but I would have forgiven them a billion times over if we had stayed in a relationship. But I respect myself too much these days, especially understanding God as much as I have come to in the last 4 days. I'm like literally feeling like a creation of God these days, and I feel God like these days. Even with all my imperfections, he still treats me godlike and gives me everything I want. And all he wants is for me to come home in a church somewhere, in my estimation as a Jehovah's Witness, just so I can physically be in his presence and learn about what he wants, learn about which way I should go, follow in Jesus' footsteps, do all these Christian things that I personally want to do. And it brings me so much peace. Like, it's nothing like learning in a school environment with really good teachers that feels like you're in a library drinking a glass of whiskey. That's what being in a Kingdom Hall feels like to me. I feel like I have a bottle of bourbon on my counter. I'm at Einstein's computer. I'm learning from geniuses from Cambridge. And literally, we have in New York, Warwick, this whole building where all of our literature, all the Watchtower, Awake, Bibles, everything is produced, where everything comes out from. And these people are people who used to be in Cambridge, used to be in Harvard, used to be in MIT and Yale. We have attorneys, we have doctors, we have scientists, we have scholars, we have linguists, we have translators, we have every human Christian in this congregation in New York. And I'm just like, we have power over the whole earth, for Jehovah's Witnesses do. And most people really don't like that. Most people aren't even aware of that. We're in every country on the planet. Almost. And I'm like, it's the biggest Christian organization it is. It's only ostracized because the Bible already said if you're a pure person, like any pure person is going to be persecuted and thought of as weird. And it's just, the more I learn about it, the more it proves itself true. And I just don't want to not be part of it. So I told Johnny, and I'll break the news to you. I proposed to Johnny a couple of days ago. And I gave him this option. Now, I was just being brutally honest because we met. I was half dressed in gothic and tribal. He was punk. And I was not interested in being a Jehovah's Witness. And if you want to be a Jehovah's Witness, you cannot look anything like the world. And when I say the world, I mean literally, you can't look like the world. Like, that's a biblical principle as a Christian. You have to be different from what's around you so people can recognize you for what you are, just like the Buddhist monks. That's why we dress very modestly, and people recognize that, and they say we all look like clones, and we're in a cult, and we're crazy, and we're scary, and we're not to be messed with, and all this stuff. That's borderline true, but it's pretty much essentially like, I told Johnny I wanted him to think about marrying me in 2 years from now. I want him to seriously contemplate it. I have no intention of going anywhere. I said, I will give you 2 years to decide if you want to marry me. Just putting that on the line because I'm starting my Bible study with Jehovah's Witnesses next week. We go through 2 books before you're eligible to be baptized. It's just a spiritual ritual you have to go through because you have to be educated enough to actually perform as a Jehovah's Witness, and they want to make sure you know what it is. So once you learn everything, then you can publicly get baptized. So I'm thinking it's going to take me about, if I have one Bible study a week out of these 2 books, which is the pace I'd like to go, it'll take me roughly 2 years before I can officially get baptized. And I've been a Jehovah's Witness almost my whole life, and I was so scared to get baptized. But I want to do that now. So I just told him, I said, I am interested in becoming a Jehovah's Witness again. It's something I have become suddenly very passionate about, and it brings me tremendous peace and joy. And I've never been happier than I have been, like, over the last 4 months. And particularly 3 days ago was the best day I've ever had in my life. Literally. So religious and spiritual. Like, I don't mean to lie or forget it, but it was so happy of a day. It was a perfect day. and then everything just fell into place perfectly. I'm been sick of shit the last few days, but I've been almost in a trance-like state. Like I can't turn off. And so I've been doing so much meditation and prayer and focusing on things with what I can do with my lack of sleep and my inability to eat or sit still. I'm just making the most of it. But it's been very cathartic and peaceful. So it's just something I wanted to share with you guys is if you aren't too freaked out by the concept of maybe occasionally, very occasionally, hearing about some more spiritual things on the channel, it will be coming this way. Just whatever I find most fascinating that I learned from the Jehovah's Witness, I will share with you. But that's a path I want to take. If for my gratitude for God is to just serve Him in the only Christian religion that I've seen be and perform the most fluidly, the most violently attacked, the most privately, and the most proudly. I would just like to be a part of that organization. They're amazing scholars, and I just like it there. And I've been there my whole life. I know exactly what it's about. I know exactly what it's like. It's open to the public. It's not a cult. It's nothing like that. It's just I felt it had some cult-like ways, but I have come now to understand that is just a perspective of somebody who's never been there. Maybe jealous, envious, confused, scared, doesn't want to change, just likes being hateful. It's gossip, is what it is. So I just want to be there. And that's what I'm going to do. So I gave Johnny 2 years to figure out if he would like to marry me if I'm a Jehovah's Witness, because I'm not going to look anything like what I look now. Obviously, I can't be a Jehovah's Witness looking like this. I'm too tribal. And in respect of not that God has a problem with tribal people, because obviously we're the original humans on earth. It's what we do. He finds us exceedingly beautiful. It's just how people react to us, and sometimes sacrificing the self and the better good so people will listen to you is better than losing a life because you want to look and do what you want to do and fuck what people think and how they're going to react to you. It's all about self-sacrificial love. So that's why we all look cookie cutter and very modest in our dress. We would rather be seen as professional scholars than anything we could possibly want to be seen as that's worldly. Not bad, just worldly or different or not of us, just anything at all. So whatever is most respectful, for a Bible scholar. That's all it is. And that's just what we wear. It's church too, so we need to be dressed appropriately. I mean, why would you show up in front of God in anything less than your best? Sunday best. That's just how it goes. So that's what we do. But that's just where I want to be. So I'm not going to have, these will never shrink. So I'm going to still have my gauges, but they're going to be very little. I'm not going to have any jewelry. I'm still going to wear my black lipstick, and I'm still going to have my dreadlocks once they grow out. And that's just going to be my aesthetic. But Johnny's going to have to think. He's going to have to think, and he's going to have to think relatively quickly. And it is time constraints, because I don't believe that you can't figure out if you want to marry somebody in the span of 2 years. You spend every day with them, having sex with them, eating with them, going out with them, doing everything you can possibly do with them. And you can't figure out if you want to marry them. You get all the benefits, but you won't put a ring on their finger and satisfy being with them the way you already are. So it's kind of like, that's just what I want. And it's not anything less. I just appreciate being a wife. I've been a wife before, and I appreciate having a husband. I feel that's in my bloodline. That's another Christian principle, to be man and wife and have children and have a threefold cord between you two and God and all these things. And Johnny doesn't have to be a Jehovah's Witness for me to be with him. It's just I can't be a Jehovah's Witness living with a man, having sex with a man, and do all these things. If I want to be a serious Jehovah's Witness and prove it to the world, I'm going to have to marry him. So in 2 years' time, I'll be done with the books. So I have to make a decision about my baptism, and I'm not putting a man in front of God. So he has to make up his mind in 2 years whether he wants to marry me as his wife or not. That's just the conclusion I've come to. So I did propose for 2 years' time away from now. I have come to understand Johnny a lot better. and he kind of broke down my walls by opening up about his childhood to me. I'm never going to disclose what he told me, but I don't believe in talking about my husband's private business or my partner's private business. But we got really close very quickly, and he's like every, because I feel this is just, I'm sorry, this is one of those videos you're gonna have to just bear with me on, because I don't know, maybe put it on the background on YouTube and just let it drone on, or maybe watch it. I have no idea how many people are gonna watch it, but I have this weird religious belief in my head that man and woman kind of are automatically naturally married to each other. So I have met about 6 men in my life that I wanted to marry. It was David, there was Chad, there was this guy named Ty that I fell in love with the second time I saw him. Told him so too. Um, Ian, and now Johnny. So 5 that I can think of right off the top of my head. And so Johnny is like all of them, every man I've ever met, plus more. I'm like, he seems like he's straight a gift from God to me. And I'm like, after all these failed relationships and brokenheartedness and so much love and adoration for really kind, intelligent, physically broken, like broke, no money, like you take a man that's stripped of everything that makes him a man, I can't help but fall in love with him because he's so naked, alone, open, hopeful, weak, strong, determined, and in need of something more than what he has. And I'm just his other half. So if I see a man that looks like he's in a little bit of peril, just like God, he's closer to people crushed and broken in spirit. I'm just God's daughter. Like, I really like broken men. I love them. I'm not trying to fix them. I'm just trying to love them. So I can't help myself. I am, with my history of abuse, like Margot Robbie was talking about how she couldn't comprehend how Harley Quinn and the Joker were so in love with each other. Or rather, she couldn't comprehend how Harley Quinn would tolerate someone like the Joker being the doctor that she was and being going from being a doctor to being so severely abused the way she was, how the two of them could get together. And she finally said she understood Stockholm Syndrome, which is a trauma bonding, but it's also a little deeper than that. Because when you go through hard times with a person, even if it's happening to you, if you see a person hit you and you know they're at their absolute weakest, it makes you love them even more. And so it's very hard to break out of those relationships because I kind of like weak men. I like brokenhearted men. And I like angry men. Or at least I used to like angry men. Very long, like 6 months ago, I used to really love angry men. But I don't anymore. And so I'm kind of at that point in my life where Johnny came along at the perfect time. He stands up for me left and right, takes me aside in private, asks if I'm okay after some guy says something sexually harassing. Constantly having to stand up for me because they're constantly doing it to me. You know, he's patient, he's funny, he's hot as hell, half goth, half punk. He's honest, he's very emotional, and he's very good at communicating. Like, very. He's only 24, and he's so old in his spirit because we have like the same history. And it's totally different because I just told you I wasn't going to tell you about his childhood, but like, we're almost the same age, even though he's 11 years younger than me. And so he's perfect. And I'm like, wow, you came at like out of nowhere, and he feels like my second husband. And like, I mean that. So I just proposed, and I was like, you know, I've had my reservations for a while, but he kept asking to be my best friend, and I kept telling him off gently, but like telling him off. And now I've given him an ultimatum. Not really an ultimatum because I'm not like, I'm going to leave if you don't do it. But that is what I'm going to do because I would rather be a Jehovah's Witness and be single than be with a man that won't let me be holy. So we have some hopeful wedding planning to do within the next 2 years. But I wanted to share it with you. He's calling me now, so I got to get off here. But I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.